Hey everybody, how's it going? Sorry I'm about an hour late today. I was going to originally do it at 1 and then something kind of came up and I had to push it back. So um, hopefully everybody can either see this now or watch it later. So I hope everyone's doing well. I know there's some really crazy stuff going on in the world, but I did want to talk a little bit about prospering as a writer in 2021, because no matter what crazy events are going on, we can still get our writing done and we can still build our businesses. And I think it's something that we need to be very, very intentional about. So I'm just going to give you some kind of tips and tricks and hacks for how, excuse me, how you can hopefully create a plan for what your writing is going to be this year and reach some of your goals. So let's start by pointing out that plenty of people are prospering as writers right now in the world. I know that not everybody thinks that, or not everybody realizes it, because we always hear about kind of the starving artist myth, and I will go into that a little bit in a little while. But I say this a lot. If anybody is making money off their writing, if anybody is doing what you want to do and prospering at it, then it can be done. You just have to figure out how to do it. And one of the best ways to do that, one of the first steps, is to create a plan for your business and for your writing. So that's what we are going to talk about today. You can be a prosperous writer too. You just have to commit to it. You have to make it happen, right? But don't let anyone tell you that it can't be done or that nobody's making money at this these days, because a lot of people are, and probably a lot more than you think there are. Amazon keeps its numbers pretty close to the chest. They don't always tell us everything, but what they have told us is that there are at least, in the dozens, maybe multiple dozens of people every year who are making six figures at their writing. I don't know if they've ever said how many millionaires there are, but it's a small percentage, true, but it's very small because not very many people are willing to do the work. If you want to do the work and it's something you really want, then it absolutely can be done. And then there's other people to consider, even those dozens or hundreds that they've told us there are that are making six figures or more. That doesn't even include people who are under six figures, but still making a really, really great living. If you're making, I don't know, like 50 to 100,000 a year, you're making a good living, right? So it very much can be done. And I know a lot of writers who are paying their bills with their writing and do just fine. So what are the things we need to do in order to create this life for ourselves? These four things are really paramount. You need to think, believe, deserve, and commit. Obviously, you need to think that it's possible, because if you don't think it's possible, then obviously you're never going to go after it and it's never going to happen. But you need to really believe that it's possible. And that may sound a little bit woo-woo to you, but they have proven again and again, even with particle physics, that our belief ends up shaping our world in a very, actual physical and tangible way, even if we don't necessarily see that all the time. We have to believe that we deserve what we want, that we, if we want to make money off of our fiction writing or whatever writing you're doing, we deserve to be able to do that, and we just have to chase it. And then, of course, we have to commit. So let's talk about commitment. What does commitment actually mean? If you really are committing to something, it means that you are 100% all in, and that nothing else but achieving that goal is going to do for you, right? That kind of commitment, because you're just giving it your all and you're going after it no matter what it takes, no matter how long it takes, is really transformative, okay? So if you really want to become an author who lives off your writing, you've got to commit to it 100%. But here are some things to keep in mind as you make this commitment this year. Number one, there are naysayers out there. We all know that, and you just have to learn to ignore them, okay? So, sometimes we commit to something and then we hear someone else say it can't be done, and we just kind of believe them and go with that, okay? You've just got to ignore the naysayers because you will meet them. We all know those naysayers are out there. You don't have to broadcast your goals. If your goal is to make $100,000 this year on your royalties, that's a fantastic goal, and go for it. But the more you broadcast it, the more naysayers you're going to sort of attract to you. It's unfortunate, but we all know there are trolls on the internet, and there's always people that are gonna, kind of degrade what we want and what our goals are. And sometimes it's not even meant to be a negative thing. Sometimes people become naysayers because they care about us and they want us to have realistic goals. But either way, whether it's a positive reason or a negative reason, we have to ignore them. And you certainly can broadcast your goals if you want to post about them or to tell your family and friends about them. completely up to you, but just know that you'll get more naysayers that way. So especially at the beginning, if your resolve is a little bit wobbly, maybe just kind of quietly start working toward your goals until you become a little bit more confident in them. Finally, we're going to talk a little bit about money since this is about prosperity. But if you are struggling to earn money as an author, you've probably been programmed to believe in the starving artist myth. Okay, so let's talk about that for a minute. The starving artist myth basically just says that any creative job, you're always going to be poor. You're never going to make a lot of money. You are always going to be the starving artist. And there certainly have been starving artists in the past, and that's why people believe that. That's where it comes from. But once again, it goes back to there are so many people who are making good money at this today. Okay, so you've got to stop believing the starving artist myth. If you do believe it, then you're going to bring that about for yourself. That's all you'll ever have to show, right, for your business. So stop believing that and believe that you can make money at what you're doing, at your writing, and you will. Once again, mid-list authors who, maybe we should define what that is. You have like the big authors, the names that everybody knows, like Stephen King and J.K. Rowling, right? Below them, in terms of money making, are the people who do not make as much as they do and are not household names, but they still make good money. These are known as mid-listers. They are very competent and successful authors. They're just not necessarily household names, okay? Those people are prospering. So once again, you don't have to make millions and millions of dollars every year in order to be successful as an author or in order to prosper as an author. So next, let's talk about the phases of your author business, okay? Because you're basically going to go through 3 different phases, and you need to identify where you're at and then work toward the next phase steadily. The first phase is going to be your building phase, okay? This is where most of us are when we start out, and it's just going to be a lot of hard work. This is where we're writing our first novels. We're trying to figure out the ins and outs of writing. We're trying to figure out, how to write a good book, how to capture our audience, but also we're struggling with the real basics of marketing, like creating an email list and creating a lead magnet and getting our websites going. And it's a lot of hard work. Honestly, it's a lot of frustration and kind of feeling like you're shouting into the void sometimes and nothing's happening, right? But that is completely normal. That is how it is for everybody when they start a business, and especially for authors, right? Because we're not starting it usually with anybody else. We're starting it on our own, and we're just trying to figure it out as we go along. So if you are in that phase, don't worry. That's completely normal, and you will not be there forever, I promise, okay? The second phase is going to be your growth phase. Don't get me wrong, you're still going to have a lot of work to do in this phase, but this is where you start to work smart, okay? You start to see some traction, some results. So I would say this is where you've got a few books under your belt and you've started to build an email list. Maybe you have a few thousand people on your email list. So you're still not seeing huge returns on your books, but you're starting to see the things that work. You're starting to maybe test the waters when it comes to higher marketing, like ads. You're starting to see a little traction, but you're still not exactly, making tons of money, and maybe not quite to the point where you can quit your day job and pay your bills, right? So it's kind of what would you call it? Like I almost said medium or middle section where things are starting to work, but you're not 100% there yet. And then after that, phase 3, you will reach the full-time writer or prosperity phase, okay? And this is where you will continue to write books, but at this point, it's working and you're making good money and you are prospering. And of course, that's where we all want to get to. Now, I would love to say that there's a way to tell when you're in each phase, or more like there's a way to say how many books you need to write to get into each phase, but there's really not. It's going to depend on you. It's going to depend on what your goals are. If I had to guess, I would say the first phase is probably 0 to 3 books. The second phase could be anywhere from 3 to, 10 to 20 books. If you kind of subscribe to the 20 books to 50K mentality, or I don't want to call it a mentality, that template, right, for your business, then it might be as many as 20 books before you really start to prosper as a writer. But I've seen people do it with a lot less too. It depends on how good your writing is, how fast your audience grows. It can depend on what genre or niche you write in. There's a lot of factors. So we can't really nail that down, but you'll know when it is just based on how well your business is going, okay? So I want you guys to make sure that you're creating beliefs for this year. Believe whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish. So once again, just to use this as an example, if you say, I want to make $100,000 this year on my author royalties, then you need to believe that's possible. And I would even recommend that it's what they always say, print it out, or if you don't want to print it, put it on your phone and put it somewhere that you'll see it all the time so that you're constantly repeating it to yourself, and so that you will actually begin to believe it. Because that repetition is what's going to help you really ingrain that belief, and the belief is what's going to help give you the drive and the know-how to go for it and make it happen. Okay, it's kind of like a chain reaction of things. Just saying it isn't automatically going to make it happen. But if you say it over and over again through repetition and you really, really believe it, then naturally, almost unconsciously, you'll do what needs to be done to get yourself there. All right, so let's talk about things you can do to help yourself along your 2021 journey. You want to keep realistic milestones, but you also want to expand your goals and make new ones consistently. So we're going to talk about a plan for 2020 or 2021. I keep saying 2020, don't I? I'm sorry. In just a minute, that will help you. It'll unpack that a little bit. But first, let's go through a few more of these. Make sure you have awesome beliefs and affirmations. If you believe that you don't have time to write and you say that all the time, then guess what? You're not going to have time to write. But if you believe that you have plenty of time to write and you write 4,000 words every day, it may take a little time to get there in a regular fashion, but you will get there. Okay, you have to have awesome and really just amazing beliefs that will get you to where you want to go. So if you catch yourself thinking something negative, like I can't do this, I don't have time to write, I'm never going to make money at this, you got to stop thinking that and switch that belief, consciously switch that belief and go with a different one that's going to help you succeed. Presume your own success. A lot of people would call this faith, but don't go around telling people you're trying to make it as an author. Presuming your success is going around saying you are an author, okay? Because that's what you're doing. You're presuming your own success. And again, that's just another way that will help you make it happen. Make sure that all year you are taking consistent action and coupling that with patience. That's hard to do, isn't it? But you need to be taking action all year. And for most of us, that just means getting our writing done. Okay. But it can also mean marketing. It can also mean networking with other authors. It can also mean purposefully growing your email list, or, your following on social media. Just make sure that you're constantly taking action in some way and being patient, because sometimes it takes a little bit of time. Practice gratitude. Everything should be a blessing. And this is something that absolutely does take practice, guys. But the thing that I always notice the most with this is that it genuinely makes my life easier. And if you think about it in a really logical sense, if you are grateful for everything in your life, not just things pertaining to writing, but everything, then when things go wrong, such as maybe you have a day that's so busy you really couldn't get your writing done that day, it's not going to seem like quite as big a deal, because you're just grateful for everything. And that makes your life less stressful. It makes it easier to deal with challenges and obstacles as they come. So be grateful, because it helps out other people in your life when you're grateful, but it also genuinely makes your life easier, and it will make your writing just flow better. Okay, so practice gratitude every single day. Be on the lookout for opportunities. I actually have experienced this a lot in the last year. It has to do with networking with other authors, but by doing a few newsletter swaps, I ended up being invited to participate in an anthology, which we're hoping is going to hit the USA Today bestseller list. And it's still work. You got to understand the opportunities are always going to be work. It's something that I've been working on for a year now, but it was a really great opportunity. And even if we don't quite hit our list, I know all of these other authors really well now that I can do swaps with, and we can help each other out, and just always be on the lookout for opportunities that will help you grow. All right, so prosperous writers do the following, and I want you to make goals to try to get these things done as often as possible this coming year. So prosperous writers always do the following. They are okay with writing messy first drafts. Always be okay with messy first drafts. It's, I think most writers, especially new writers, put so much pressure on themselves to write perfectly, and you're not going to. Even the, quote unquote, best writers in the world, again, like Stephen King and James Patterson, they too write messy first drafts, okay? So be okay with not being perfect. Prosperous writers write daily. Now, I know that not everybody I have jets flying over my house. Sorry. I hope you can hear me okay. Not everybody can write daily because of their work schedules or their family schedules or, whatever the case may be. But to me, writing daily, it just means writing every day that you can. And maybe that sounds a little bit obvious, but we so often make excuses for why we can't write. So if there's a day where you have like an 18-hour day and you genuinely have no time to sit down and write, okay, yeah, obviously, totally up to you, and you don't want to burn yourself out. But most days of the week, we can probably find a few minutes to write, even if it's just 20 minutes here or there, so it's writing daily whenever you can and getting into the habit of being able to sit down and write anytime, just like snapping yourself into the mindset of being able to do that so that you get your writing done, even if it's just in the nooks and crannies of the day. And by the way, I can help coach you on that if you need help with that. But it really is a mindset shift, and it's important to remember that you can train your brain to write. It's no different than training your body to, do something physical, like run a marathon or lift weights or something, okay? It takes time. It's not going to happen overnight, but you can train your brain to write any way and any time that you want. So there are, of course, we know there are plotters out there and there are pantsers out there. And some people prefer to be pantsers because it really is what they love. It lights them up, and that they just like that creative process. And hey, more power to them. But I always have just a little bit of a problem with it when someone says, I can't learn to write that way. You can learn to write any way you want to write. If you don't want to, that's a different situation. But anyone can train their brain to do whatever they want it to do. It just takes time, and you got to put in the effort. But prosperous writers write daily. Prosperous writers manage their money with focus, intention, and action. So this means not just throwing money at ads and hoping that they work, right? You are focusing, you are testing, you are being very, very intentional about it. Being intentional about anything is what sets you up for success in a business, okay? This is why I am really a big proponent of planning in all parts of your writing, because it's not that it's wrong not to plan, but it is really hard to create a sustainable business, a sustainable author business, if you're not planning things and putting systems in place to help you do things repetitively, right? So if you don't want to do that, hey, totally up to you, more power to you, but you're going to have a really hard time creating a sustainable author business, especially from a monetary perspective. Prosperous writers market like professionals. So this kind of goes back to, managing your money. But again, you need to learn how to market correctly, and you need to, create a plan so that you're not just kind of haphazardly doing different promos and things. You need to put it together and make sure that, you're just being super professional about it. There's a big difference between going at it like an amateur and going at it like a professional in the results that you'll get. Prosperous, there's the word I'm looking for. I kept trying to say prolific. Prosperous writers use repeatable systems to write and market faster and more efficiently. This is basically what my entire program is based on, is putting these repeatable systems in place so that you have some idea of what you can do and how quickly you can do it and how quickly you can get things written. And that really is the way that you're going to build a sustainable business. So here's what I would recommend for 2021. You should be making a 90-day plan, and you need to put down goals for those 90 days of what you want to get accomplished. And this can be anything, okay? This can be, you want to get your book written, or maybe a certain number of books written. You want to maybe, collaborate with other authors. You want to maybe learn a certain type of marketing, like a certain type of ad. Keep in mind that goals can be functional or they can be outcomes. Usually you cannot control outcomes. So you might say, my goal is to sell, 10,000 books in the next 90 days. Well, you can certainly try to do that. You can put things in place to promote your books and try to get that number sold, but ultimately you're not going to be able to directly control how many books you sell, right? So it's better to make goals that you can actually control. This is going to be things like writing every day or writing a certain number of words every day. That's a function that you can control. In terms of selling, you can certainly make a goal to, do a certain amount of promotions for your book, or, save enough money for, say, a book club promotion. Just make sure that you write the goal in terms of what you can actually control rather than the outcome. But create these goals for the next 90 days. And then after 90 days, you know, come back and reassess and see what you managed to accomplish and what you didn't. And at that point, remember earlier, I said that you needed to, oh no, I can't find my little banner. There it is. Keep realistic milestones, but always expand your goals. Okay, so create realistic goals for the next 90 days. If you are just starting out and haven't written your first book, chances are you're not going to be a millionaire author in 90 days, right? We need to keep it realistic. But your goal could be in 90 days to finish your book, maybe finish your outline, join a critique group and really get serious about your writing. You know, create realistic goals that you know you can actually accomplish. But after those 90 days, you need to go back, reevaluate. You might have some that you didn't accomplish that you need to, you know, go out again in the next 90 days. But you can also expand those. So if you did get your book finished, you know, maybe it's your rough draft written, for example, then in the next 90 days, your goal can be to actually get that book published, right? And if your book is published, then maybe the first 90 days are going to be to apply for as many small promos as you can to try and make a little bit of money. And the 90 days after that, you're going to take that money and apply for bigger promos. And you know what I mean? Just always expand upon your goals and always be learning and creating more as an author. Okay. So I'm going to challenge you guys today to write a plan, and you can actually write a plan for the entire year. There's nothing wrong with that, but I would take it kind of 90 days at a time, and then you can kind of, you know, change it and mold it however you need every 90 days. But just go for it, guys. If you want to get your writing done, then make a goal to write every day for the next 90 days. Now, chances are you're going to fail at that every once in a while, right? Not everybody gets it perfect all the time. I certainly don't. But you can start to hone your writing skills that way and start to cultivate a daily writing habit that way, which is a really good habit to have if you want to create a sustainable author business. So write these goals down. And I would love if you would comment on this video and tell me what your goals are for the next 90 days. I'll put mine in there. I don't think I did when I created this, but I will put it in there as a comment. And, you know, maybe even write down how you're thinking you're going to accomplish these. And let's just create a plan to really get our goals done this year. Yes, let me show this comment. Thank you for commenting this. Even jotting quick notes as you think of them is still writing daily. That's a good point. Lots of people keep notebooks with them to write down story ideas. I don't usually keep mine in a notebook anymore, but I did for years and years. Now I usually just put them on my phone. But you're right. You're actually doing something toward getting your writing done by, you know, kind of putting together ideas and coming up with a premise. And yeah, you're absolutely right. That's very true. So thank you for that comment. Yeah, so this is pretty much what I have for you today. I would love to hear what your writing goals are for the year for 2021. And remember just to keep your mindset positive. You can prosper as a writer if you want to. Once again, it doesn't happen overnight. Nobody does this job and nobody becomes an author because it's easy. Okay, very far from it. But I know that most people are here because they feel a passion for it. So just keep moving forward. And you will get there eventually, I promise. So let's make goals to make huge, huge strides in our author business in 2021. And once again, if you need any help with that, I do have slots open for coaching. And actually this month I'm doing a sale on a power hour coaching call. So instead of, I have packages, but the power hour is just a 1 hour session. It's on sale this month for $97. Usually I don't really have like an hourly rate, but if you were to figure out the hourly rate from the packages, that's more than 50% off. And, you know, most people use it to have me help them hash out their story, their outline, and figure out what's missing from their story and how to make it, you know, really like a bestseller that's going to pull the reader through. So that's what I would usually recommend you use the power hour for, but I'm happy to coach you on whatever aspect you need in your author business, you know, developing that daily writing habit, marketing, you know, planning out your business, your author business, whatever you need. But I would love to help you hash out your story and make sure that you are ready to go on that novel. So I'm only doing that this month, and then the sale will be over. It is $97, and I will put the link in the show notes for anybody who is interested. All right. But with or without that, just make sure that you go out and have a great week of writing. Enjoy what you do, and let's get those author businesses going. All right, everybody, have a nice day. See you soon.